Hello everyone, this video is on perfectionism, and we really need to drop the idea that there is perfection in the relative world and there is perfection within a personality or within something that is temporary. The temporary world is imperfect, it's designed to be imperfect. So when we try to force perfection into a space which is imperfect, that's a recipe for severe anxiety and depression. Perfection only exists in a world that is not temporary, and we always have access to that world because the larger part of us isn't in the relative world. It's timeless and it infuses our cells and our being at all times. And so we can have one foot in the relative and one foot out and continue to act. But sometimes we're looking for perfection in all the wrong places. Perfection's here, it's not here. But what's interesting is when perfection from the stillness enters the body, even the relative world in all of its chaos, in all of its misery and contrast, can seem celestial and beautiful because everything that happens is a gift to us. Everything is given to raise our awareness and to dissolve stress from the past. And there's so much that's unfathomable that's going on that our higher perception starts to realize, oh, everything's as it should be. And sometimes certain individuals, they come in with a very strong life force and they decide, I'm going to try and make the imperfect as perfect as I can. And those people are very extreme. They can be extreme practitioners and they can push and push and push and try to get things in the relative to be as best as they can be. And this kind of spirit can lead to incredible accomplishments, which everybody else goes, wow, look at that company, or wow, look at that art piece, or wow, look at that amazing film. How did they even do that? It's so epic. And there's a beauty in that desire and the confidence to even give it a go. But we also have to weigh out if there's a cost. What are you losing in your presence to make something be as perfect in the relative world as you can? If there's a loss of presence, then it's not worth it. And also, learning to fail is very important. We didn't enter our bodies to be perfect, we entered our bodies to experience failure. As soon as you enter a human body, there's failure. There's a failure to connect to the stillness. There's a failure to understand that, you're a higher being. Just by virtue of being in your body, you forget that, and that can seem imperfect. And there's a desire to return to that perfection. And so it can be a real driving life force that one needs to balance out to make sure that we're not being cruel to ourselves and pushing and pushing and pushing and losing our awareness in the push and trampling people in the push and going through divorces in the push or suffering from addictions and overworking and adrenal fatigue. So life needs skill and it needs balance. You can't have happiness and contentment without balance. The right amount of pushing and the right amount of awareness to know when to stop the pushing. And also, life is like pulling an arrow back. And we need to know when to let go of the arrow so that it'll hit the target. If we always pulling it back, pulling it, pulling it, pulling it, pulling it, pulling it, pulling it, and it's never good enough to let go. And we just keep pulling and pulling and pulling and pulling, it'll just snap. And then even if it reaches the target, you'll still have a sore arm, you'll still have pulled a muscle, and you'll be exhausted. So the wonder of meditation is that it forces us to stop. And that can be uncomfortable because we're all designed to kind of want to be perfect. And part of that's our childhood trauma because we think that we can't secure love from our parents unless we're perfect. Part of it is like an intuitive knowing that perfection exists, but not knowing where it is, and then believing it somewhere it's not. Part of it is just maybe we're designed a certain way and we're very intense and we're very driven, and our personality and our culture and our design just come together, and it makes us have a tendency to be obsessive and compulsive and just need things to be a certain way before we can feel okay. And that can lead to a certain amount of suffering. But we can also channel that and have skill with that when necessary so that we don't burn out. And also knowing that we have inherited certain amount of pushing from our lineages. You know, if we come from a lineage which has had a struggle to survive, you know, maybe we come from a Native American lineage or a African lineage or any lineage where there's been a struggle to survive, that can lead to us inheriting that struggle and wanting to push and believing that we're not okay unless we're better than everybody else. We're not safe unless we're better than anyone else. And we need to do better in order to be level on the playing field. And so that can lead to overwork, that can lead to burnout, and that can lead to the inherited trauma being passed down from generation to generation. So the work of the pausing is left to the next generation. And now I believe that this is getting cut. I think the generation now's had enough and is tired and is saying, I don't care what the color of my skin is, I don't care what stress is in my lineage or how uncomfortable it's going to be, I'm going to pause. I need to rest. And I think the whole world needed that. And that's part of the reason why COVID happened, because we needed to rest and we needed to face our demons and pause and learn to meditate and learn to be in the stillness and allow the catharsis of any stress to be removed. And so COVID was a gift. And all of our shadows came up in COVID, all of our fears around everything came up. And there was a collective awakening. And the residue of that is still occurring. And the minute that COVID happened, our realization on a larger level was already done. So we've already shifted into a new reality where we are at a higher platform of awareness. We just haven't integrated it fully, but we are all going to give ourselves the opportunity to have daily silence. And that silence can happen in a way that works for us, whether it's through a more formal practice of meditation or through just going for walks in nature or spending more time doing what we love or not beating ourselves up if we fail. We're all going to give ourselves a break and be very gentle and kind with ourselves. Stop worrying. Know that we are enough and step into that new reality. Jay Gerda.